after a win that we saw last night from the game that was played against Mauritania, we can say we are gladly smiling today, though it was a thin win for me. I expected the Glads to do a lot. But anyway, who am I to judge? The 3 points, we got them and they are in our basket as we are talking right now. Welcome to Off the Pitch, the show that gives you nothing but the best in terms of sports highlights. And I'm your host, Amos, aka Amore. And I'm not alone on set. I'm joined by one Augustine, and Uncle Rapson will be joining us very shortly as he's trying to usher in our special guest for today, who will have later on the show. Augustine, welcome to the show.
Thank you very much, Amos. It's always a pleasure to be here. We turn all the glory and honor to the Most High God for the gift of life and good health. It was a fantastic win by the Chipolo Polo yesterday last night, and we hope it continues going into the Tuesday game against Tunisia, which will be very, very tricky.
You hope.
Yes.
Stories are there that the two lads just flew back to England yesterday after the game. How are we going to strategize now?
Yeah, I think I can confirm that Patson Dak and Inokumwepo have left base and they are going back to their respective clubs in England. Because we all know with the COVID restrictions in the UK, when it comes to countries who are on the red spot like Zambia, Egypt and other countries, so the lads have played their part, which was against Mauritania, and they will not play any further against Tunisia. So we need to try and find the right balance going into the Tunisian game. And if you look at the squad which we have, I think we do not have enough options, if we have to be honest. In midfield, we hope that Cletus Chamachota issues are resolved and he flies into the country to play against Mauritania. Up front, that's where we have a lot of challenges, because who do we play down the middle? I think it will be very, very tricky to see. Probably it will be Brandmere, because he's the only recognized striker who is there, who may start. We cannot think of maybe Jimmy Mukea, but I think Brandmere will start.
Anyway, we'll continue with the discussion more, but for now you can tell your friends to tell their friends that they can also watch us on Facebook. That's live. Follow our Facebook page, which is Camelot TV. Like it, and you'll be able to watch us live and comment from there. But for now, we'll take a very, very short break and we'll be right back on the other side.
Are you a small to medium enterprise looking to advertise your products and services within your community and across Zambia? In these economic times, we are here to help you grow your business. Advertise with us on Camelot Market. Camelot Market is offering lower rates for prime time advertising between 06 to 18 hours every day to give your business an edge under the new normal and beyond. For more details, contact us on the following numbers: 097 975 3010 or 096 296 5883, as well as 096 244 726. You can also reach us via email on info@CamelotTVAfrica.com. Camelot TV, not just another channel. The Camelot October Conference is fast approaching. To participate in the forthcoming conference, you're required to book your seat by paying 750 kwacha per person per day. Date 1st and 2nd October 2021. Venue, the Healing Word Ministries International in Ibex Hill. Guest speakers include Professor Reda, Professor Munkumba, Mr. Nkuruma Kalaluka, Dr. Musonda, Dr. Sitima, Anthony from USA, Dr. Mwale, Honorable Bob Sichinga, Elias Bondela, and your hosts, Pastors Victoria and Moses Chiluba.
You can also participate via Zoom at 300 kwacha per day.
Make your payments through mobile money for MTN 096 296 5883, for Airtel 097 975 3010. Our banking details are 913 225 Stanbic Bank, Kablonga branch.
For those living abroad, make payments via Wild Remit. The deadline for payments will be 28 September 2021. Any late payment made after 28 September will attract a penalty fee of 200 kwacha per person.
I can happily say we've been joined by Ango Rapson, who was ushering our guest who's going to join us a bit later on the show. But Ango Rapson, welcome to the show.
Thank you very much. Always a pleasure to be here, and it's been a very, very good sporting week, and all the smiles have been put on our faces by our very own Zambia national soccer team. And yesterday's performance was nothing but very, very sweet to win, but definitely the performance was not very, very impressive if you ask me. We were playing an average team in Mauritania, and that particular team is a team where in the olden days we could go and attack them and basically create a lot of goal difference when it comes to the number of goals that we were scoring. We were caught napping a couple of times in defense, and I think for me the weakest link really was I'll be very, very, very blunt in my analysis anyway. The weakest link in our defense was basically Rodri Kawe in defense, and his performance yesterday, the dead balls that he was taking were always going in the wrong spots. His defensive abilities were very, very questionable yesterday, if you ask me. And I think the Mauritanian national soccer team, I enjoyed the way they attacked us, especially when they realized that Rodri Kawe was the weakest link in defense. They kept on attacking on the right-hand side of the pitch, and we saw how exposed he became. And I'm only hoping that in the next game, chance could be given to one Prosper Chilia to take care of that particular left-back position in the squad. But however, I'm glad to be here this morning, and thank you very much to the viewers who've joined us this morning. And Augustine, good morning.
Good morning,
You know, you can, for our viewers who are watching, you can call in and comment on the take. What's your take in terms of the game that was played yesterday? How was the play? Do you feel like with the playing style that we played yesterday, yesterday night, we were able to contain Tunisia at home? Augustine, when you look at the starting 10 that started yesterday, or the starting 11, I excluded the goalkeeper. We had Dwan Mwenyachiwe, Benedict Sepeshi, Rodrick Kawe, Dominic Chanda, Solomon Sakala, Boyd Msonda, Edward Chirufia, Prince Mumba, Patson Daka, Enoch Mwepu, and Luambo Musonda. Any inclusion or exclusion you would have made?
I think to start with, it was a very, very big gamble. It caught us almost everyone unaware with Quicksilver starting 11. I think many wouldn't have anticipated the starting of Solomon Sakala at the heart of defense, Boyd Musonda in central midfield, and Prince Mumba for a game of such magnitude to start a very, very young lad in a very, very big game. I think it was brave. In hindsight, we look at it because now it looks like it was a genius move, but it was suicidal, to be honest. I think if you look at the way we played, the way we accounted for the players like Boyd accounted for themselves, I think our midfield was very, very poor, if you have to be honest. We couldn't control the game. They couldn't get on the ball and dictate play. We were very, very poor in that regard. If you look at our defensive shape, I think Dominic Chanda was very, very decent, and Chepeshi. Solomon Sakala looked a little bit shaky, but he stood his own. I think in the 90 minutes, Rodrick Kawe was very, very casual. He was too casual, I think, for very poor. For such a game of such magnitude, an international game, I think this is, if you look at his last performance in such a big game, was against Algeria, came in as a super sub with Luambo Msonda, and they changed the game. They played very, very well, but in last night's game, we looked awful. I think if you have to be honest, that kind of performance, you're playing against a North African opposition in your sides, they like to attack the wings, is something which we really need to address, like Ango Rapson has said. I think credit to Mwenyachiwe. I think the way he was reading the game, his anticipation, his decision making, Mwenyachiwe was very, very good in goal. We have to be honest. And I was surprised with the starting of Boyd Msonda ahead of Benson Sakala, who did very well again against Algeria. We expected Benson Sakala to shoot our defense, which was very, very porous in recent games that we've played under Milutin Soredojevic. Last time when we were on set, we talked about what Quicksilver need to do. He needs to start getting results and performances. So what did he do yesterday? He didn't get the performance, but he got the result. Slowly you start winning over the fans. If you look at what we did going forward, I think we never offered very, very much because we resorted to long balls. I don't know why. We couldn't put the ball on the floor. We couldn't pass it. But we can only improve and get better. We've seen better teams, Brazil, Spain, Germany, sometimes they have to grind out results. You do not need to play pretty football. And people will say, yes, it's little Mauritania, but you just have to play the people in front of you. You cannot play Egypt. We're not in the same group, so we play the people who are in front of us, and that was Mauritania, and we had to do a job. We got the job done. Credit must go to the boys, and we need to organize coming into the game against Tunisia, because it's going to be very, very tricky. The gamble which Quicksilver took yesterday, it's not a guarantee that it's going to work in our next game. I think we need to improve in ball retention. We were poor in that aspect. I think we switched off a couple of times. There were phases where it was pretty, yes. The phases we played very, very well, but the 90 minutes, I think we never looked like we were in control of the game. And against a Tunisian outfit, we need to be very, very brave. We need to control the game. We need to dictate the tempo of the game, because it's going to be very important coming into a game playing against a very, very clever side like Tunisia. You saw Patson Daka was being fed on cramps. He was always trying to chase down long balls, which was he lost a lot of duels because we couldn't play to his strength. I think, if we have to be honest, even the midfield, Enoch Mwepu, Boydim Sonda and Prince Mumba, they didn't get on the ball as much as they would have liked, because we're always passing the midfield. We're always going long. It's something which we need to work on and improve going into our next game against Tunisia, if I have to be honest.
Uncle Rapson, is it the result or is it the scoreline that you expected?
To begin with, you're getting to a stage where now we should be discussing whether it's the result or the performance against an average side like Mauritania is a very, very big disgrace to this country. And for me, if you ask me, Monyachiwe's goalkeeping timing yesterday was very much on point. His ball distribution, I didn't like it. Why? Every time he had the ball, he was kicking the balls up front. Patson Daka, yes, he's got the aerial height, the aerial strength that he has. But when you look at the opponents that we were playing yesterday, their average height was like 1.8 meters. Every high ball that you throw up, just know that it will come back to you. So for me, really, and you know, when you start playing long balls, every time that the ball was in defense, the next thing the defense would do is cross over the midfield and switch the ball up front. What are you doing to the midfielders? You are giving midfielders a lot of work to defend instead of being creative and playing with the ball. So what we should do, if we are to improve against Tunisia, Mwenyachiwe should not be kicking those long balls when he's not very sure where the ball is going to land. The best thing to do is keep possession, keep pushing, let the ball flow, let the midfielders get involved, because they are the main linkage between the defense and the up front. When you give them the ball to play, as long as they participate and they play up front, it becomes very easy for them to actually defend when it's time to defend, because they know that they've been part of the ball playing, and now when they lose the ball, it's very easy for them to position themselves in a situation where they need to defend. But every time a defender gets a ball and they're shooting the ball up front, even those days when I was playing soccer in midfield, I would probably sit back and say, so these guys, they just want me to be defending instead of playing, because all the balls were going up front. Benedict Chepeshi, my best right back in the country, yesterday he accounted for himself very well. He was a bit under pressure on one or two occasions, but I think he accounted for himself very well. The biggest mistake, the biggest problem that I think should be improved, if I was the coach, I would take off Solomon in the next game, probably replace him with Tandy. I would take off Roderick, replace him with Prosper. And in midfield, I would sacrifice Boyd and use Benson. Those were the weakest links that we had in the team, according to my opinion.
But before you go there, Uncle Rapton, let's look at these two lads that are not going to be there, the game against Tunisia, Patson Daka and Enoch Mwepu.
It's a tough call. The replacements, the gap is too wide. The gap is too wide. When you look at Patson Daka's caliber and Enoch Mwepu's caliber and exposure, and the replacement options that we have at the moment, I think it puts us in a position where 1 point will be sufficient against Tunisia, and it will be a very, very great achievement if you ask me, because the options that we have in Brian Miller, the options that we have in midfield, of course, we'll have to look at the available options and deal with them. But I think this problem is not only affecting Zambia, it's also affecting Tunisia. there are players who are applying their trade in Europe, and they have similar sanctions as well. So they will probably won't be able to fly. So most of the players that will come here are players that don't matter the most when it comes to the restrictions of COVID. So the way we've been hit by the two players, Tunisia is also going to be hit. But clearly, when you look at the substitutes that we had yesterday and the ones that can replace those two, it's a very, very big question mark. I had an opportunity to watch the highlights of the Tunisian game against Equatorial Guinea. My. If we are going to have that kind of squad and that coverage and that average display that we had yesterday, I will not say much. But I watched them beat Equatorial Guinea. I watched the highlights. You could see that they have the anger to play football. And those mistakes that we had in defense yesterday, I don't think the Tunisians would. They would have a part in our defense.
Augustine, who would you replace the two lads with?
I think we do not have enough options, if I have to be honest. I think before the final list was announced, I think there were a couple of players who would have suggested to be part of the team. Evans Kangwa would have been a good addition to try and, if Patson Daka is not playing, Evans Kangwa would have been a better option. Moses P would have been a better option. Then we had Clins Kangwa, Emmanuel Banda in central midfield would have been a better option ahead of...
brother Edward was also off
I think, yeah. So you look at the way Quicksilver went with his selection, the entire selection, I think he's had faith in the players who he had in under 20. And probably the half of the squad which started yesterday were his players. So he wanted to go with the people who understand and know his philosophy. I think that's what he was looking at. But now, two of these players are taken out of the equation, which is Patson Daka and Enoch Mwepu. How do you replace Patson Daka's goals? How do you replace Patson Daka's willingness to run in behind defenders and in the channels? How do you replace Enoch Mwepu's ability to hold on to possession, dictate play, and pick a pass in the final third? I think that's that's a tough ask for the coach to replace players of such caliber. You look at in the team, who do we call upon? Reliable sources inform me that Cletus Chama Chota is flying to Ndola. He will be part of the team to face Tunisia, which will be very, very boost to the squad, because Cletus is a kind of player who brings in a lot of creativity and flair into the game. On the Patson Daka side, that's where we've got issues now, because we cannot find a player who is going to replace Patson Daka. Brandon Wheeler is more of a target man. We have to change the way we play, because with Patson Daka, he's willing to run into the flanks, he's willing to run in behind defenders, but for Brian Wheeler, everything has to be played to fit. I think that's the tricky part. It has to be played to fit, or you have to cross balls for him to attack.
How many chances does he need to convert one?
Even one chance he can score. I think he's,
but again, okay, guys, before you continue, let's look at the performance of Patson Daka for last night, before we look at someone who we can replace him with. How was his performance?
I think he never had a lot of things to run on to. I think he never had a lot of supply line, because like we talked about, they kept jumping the midfield, which gave the midfielders a lot of work, because when you are closing down your opposition, you drop back into a defensive shape, and then you win back the ball, and then the defenders choose to go long. Now you have got a very, very huge space to cover, a lot of ground to cover for you to join Patson Daka and support him, which was very, very tricky for our midfielders to try and support Patson Daka and supply him the ball, which we saw that Patson Daka was always being fed on crumbs. He looked lost for the first time in a long time in the Zambia national team jersey. He was not sure what he was supposed to be doing, whether to be on the last defender's shoulders, because he wasn't receiving any supply. I think tactics are the reason why Patson Daka struggled in last night's game, if we have to be honest. And if you look at our performance overall, turnover of possession, I think we were not very, very good when it happened. We could have been a little bit proactive rather than being reactive, like the way we attacked the game. I think Kelvin Mwanga, I think, is a kind of guy who can come in and try and give us a different dimension going into the game against Tunisia. I think one interesting thing about our national team yesterday was we never played with two holding midfielders. For the first time in a long time, we never played with.
But what if that's the reason why there was a gap?
We did when Benson came on.
We never started with the two holding midfielders. We had to, because now we are protecting something. That's where we introduced Benson Sakala and Dixon Cham.
But of course, that substitution for me, really, where you bring in Benson, I think the sacrificial lamb there would have been Luambo Msonda. Then you go to a direct replacement on Boyd. Shouldn't have happened. Why? Because we were being defensive in the last few minutes of the game, and we should have protected that win by simply adding another defensive midfielder in the squad. But like Augustine has said, I would like to echo the fact that we didn't play to the strength of Patson Daka yesterday. Patson Daka is not a player who's going to be chasing after long balls. Patson Daka, the two opportunities that we played on our feet to him, one of them, he made the goalkeeper wake. Remember, he had the ball, he played it back, then he had a very nice through ball where he should have converted that ball, but unfortunately the goalkeeper was huge enough to protect his goal, and it was well defended. But overall, if you look at the number of times that Patson was given the ball to his feet, he accounted for himself very well. The rest, he was chasing shadows. It was a situation where there is an aerial ball going into space. He has to struggle with the two huge defenders that he was facing, as well as the support from the midfield. Because when you hit an aerial ball, it goes straight and flies above the midfield. It becomes very difficult for the midfielders to join in when he's hustling up front there. So the best we could have done is, like Augustine has said, if we had enough strength in midfield, I think the coming in of Cletus Chama for the Tuesday's game, hopefully that he makes it, is going to close that gap. We need a player who enjoys holding the ball and distributing it the way it should be distributed. Yesterday, Boyd and Prince, great goal from Prince, great positioning, very good pass, very good assist from Luambo. But I think starting a player of his height, and of course nothing to do with his height, but I think it was a huge risk. It paid off, he scored, but I think it was a very, very huge risk. When you look at the team that we were playing, it was worth it to risk him in that team. But if you are going to do that against a team like Tunisia, you've got to be very, very prepared for shocking things.
Anyway, we will just take a very, very, very short break, as we'll be joined by our very special guest on set after this short commercial break. We'll be right back.
Camelot TV is here to entertain, educate, and inform you. Catch Rise and Thrive at 0730 hours every Saturday. Fresh and new praise and worship comes Monday to Friday at 8 hours. Kids need to be glued to the TV every weekday at 09 hours for their favorite cartoons. Off the pitch with the boys as they talk about sport on Saturdays at 0930 hours.
Remember, we are also here to entertain you with our different varieties of movies every weekday at 10 hours. Join Pastor Victoria and Moses Chuluwa with Healing Word Ministries International Church live sermon every Sunday at 10 hours.
Katamanda brings to you another journey of gospel ministers on Saturdays at 10:30 hours. The verdict comes to your screens at 17:45 hours. Join the Revival Harvest Church every Sunday at 18:30 hours.
Every Monday to Saturday, join us on the news desk at 12 hours as we bring to you the midday news, and at 19:30 hours Central African time every day for the main bulletin.
The ministry with Pastor Moses Chuluwa comes every Friday at 20:45 hours. On Mondays, it's your favorite national matters at 20:45 hours.
Wednesday and Thursday, Pastor Victoria and Moses Chuluwa are on Partnership of Greatness with different spiritual teachings at 20:45 hours.
And Frank on Camelot comes to your screen every Tuesday at 20:45 hours.
Camelot TV, not just another channel.
Africa is rising to a new dawn of integrity and accountability. Are you tired of being swindled or buying fake or illegal properties? Would you like to sell or buy genuine property? Would you like to list your property on both local and international market? Don't waste your time. Call the professionals, the SGK Properties, on +260 762 166018. SGK Properties. Your business assurance is our priority.
Former Women International Boxing Association welterweight champion Esther Phiri says she's determined to uplift the standards of women boxing in the country. Phiri, who has been boxing for over 10 years, has disclosed to the media that boxing will always be her favorite sport and is putting up measures to ensure that the sport is introduced to other young people through her academy called Esther Nest Academy. Esther has since called on the new government to support and not sideline boxing as observed in the recent years.
For me, my message always is about discipline. You need to be determined. You need to be listening to your handlers. I can say to your coach, even the manager, because the sport, it's about discipline and being focused and know what you want to do. And there's life. There's job. Yeah, I am today, I'm independent because of sport. So they need just to be disciplined and they need just to learn. Yeah.
Phiri says her experience in the sport will help groom more boxers who can win international sessions.
Right now is too high, especially in amateur. I think the problem maybe is just management. Maybe we're just lacking of good management. Otherwise, the talent out there, it's there. And the competition is high. I think one of these days when things are open, you need just to go through, because all the time amateur, we are having that, call it every weekend tournament, just to groom the youth from different compounds. So we do that. And I can't talk about that because there's people who are supposed to talk about that, but I'm talking because I've got an academy.
Esther says, unlike in her time, the current standards of female boxing globally are high and that she will use her experience to help young female boxers attain success at such levels. Blessings Shakwila, Camelot News, Lusaka.
That's the clip of our champ, Esther Phiri, who made a very, very huge name, not only for herself, but for the country at large. And she's just joined us here on set so that we tend to ask her where she has been, what she's up to, and to see the way forward in terms of her career. Because a lot of people are wondering and asking to say, has she retired? We are yet to find out as well. Esther Phiri, welcome to the show.
Thank you.
We saw the clip. You've been too quiet of late. What have you been up to?
I've been quiet. I decided just to be quiet.
Okay.
From the last fight I had.
The reason?
A bit of challenge. Really hindered me. I was so frustrated, so I decided to be quiet. No wonder I didn't say bye.
So are the people right when they say you are retired?
Anyway, they are just making stories like the way you are talking. You are telling me you have retired, you have been quiet. So yeah.
So the last time we spoke, you told me something to do of an academy that you have and how you are planning to help a lot of youths in, I think, across the country, I might say. But how far? What's the name of the academy? How many youths are there, and what's your target? What do you want to achieve with the same academy?
Since I went quiet, I decided to come up with an academy in my old Ntendele, which is not easy. It's quite rough. 2019, I sat down and decided, say, I want to have an academy because there's too much talent. I did that. Then we started training at NRDC by the ground. Then as time goes on, some people they got interested, say, Esther, I must stay in the ground in our fana. But ran part of a center. So I went back to African direction where I come from. Yes. So most of the time we are there. And I've got coaches who help me because I can do it on my own. So we've got a team for the guys. When I'm not there, when I'm busy, they are there also to help the youth. We've got a number of youth and there's talent, you know, but there's talent. I'm telling you, there's talent. And I think you didn't even just follow us. Since 2019, we do amateur promotion every week tournament. It's our grassroots. We call it our grassroots. From there now they go into national team. So we do it like every weekend. Now just because of the COVID, everything went down. Yeah, so we are looking forward. If everything is open, maybe you can start following what is happening. But yeah, for now, there's challenge.
So in terms of the number, how many youths do you have?
Nidiba. Nidiba. You know, when you are dealing with these children, they're coming from different houses, they're coming from different area. Then, you know, they are happy when they see you. Oh, why I started? You know. So you need just to interact each and everyone. But one day, you need just to pick those who are serious. But once they come, you need just to accommodate them, which is not easy. Yeah.
So looking at the, you said you've got a lot. Is it a combination of both male and female?
Yeah, both.
The last question I had asked you was something to do with why is it that we've only seen female boxers succeeding?
I think
there's been the likes of you, and now we've got the likes of Kathleen.
Yeah. Because maybe he is boxing, it was not so famous, and the time I came, it was like a surprise. You know, people, they used to talk nonsense, like, you know, insulting you, a lot of things, you know. It was not easy for me. But I prove a point to those people who used to talk negative about boxing. It's not just for my guys. Boxing is for smart people who think, because it's not easy to be in the ring. You need to think for your opponent. At the end of the day, you need to be accurate. So I believe boxing is not for rough people. So for me, I can say I've done it. To those people who used to talk bad, I've managed to bring Catherine.
Yes.
Yeah, I'm proud. And you've got now competition. When you go around to the gym, we've got a lot of girls.
I think that's the most, the next question I was coming to. I think you have got this academy. How many promising young talents do we have?
I think there are many, but maybe I can say lack of discipline. Yeah, but they're very talented. We need just to keep on talking to them, to tell them good things. Like me, I always look at me. I'm here where I am because of sport.
Yes.
I'm independent because of this.
Yes.
So boxing is not for rough people. It's a job also. There's life, you know. Then going out, maybe just starting drinking, stealing, do other things. But once you are here, I'll tell them good things, that they must have life at the end of the day. You know what to do. You know, sometimes there's no food, there's maybe no surf, no what, but you see that sometimes barefooted, which is not easy. In me, it's where I come from. I've been there, so I understand.
The challenges that are there.
Yeah, the challenges I understand. So it doesn't matter the situation I am, I will say, okay, we improve as time goes on.
So how was rough in terms of your career-wise for you to get where you reached, having 19 professional fights and having won 14 of those fights? Knocking, having 5 knockouts and 9 by decision. How challenging was it back then? Because, you know, boxing wasn't that considered for me back then, but you came out of the shell and just said, okay, this is who I am. How challenging was it in terms of the starting of your career?
At first, it was very challenging because where I come from, we had no gym. It was just a chore. Even now, You're just using a shoe, you just put like a bag there, you know, to buy pads, to child hand boxing. Me, I understand it because I've been there. And for me, it was so rough. Even the time I met Anton Mwamba, Anthony had nothing. But being a former boxer, a former soldier, I had a privilege starting even mentoring me, you know, Esther, me, I've traveled, you know, what are you doing? You know, I'm just selling at the market, you know, now this sport is a job, you know. He didn't starting just mentoring me, telling me good things that I must believe in, that sports
can take me somewhere.
Can take me somewhere. It's how I started. And my coach, he was very poor. I had no money. Made me to jump 4 buses every day from Umtendere to Heroes. Every day, Monday to Saturday. It was so challenging. And people, the way they used to talk, but as time goes on, everything's changed. I became a champion. And
you become a household name.
I think going back to your career, I think to me the highlight of your career was the fight against Belinda Rarakwe.
Yeah.
How tough was Belinda?
Really, it was very tough. It was very tough. I can't say no. It was very tough. He was very sharp. You know, people they talked, but my coach really keep on saying, "You are Esther. So I was busy scoring the point, but people they didn't understand because Belinda, she was so aggressive on me, you know. But the judges, the one who was scoring, not me. So yeah, it was tough.
I think before we close to this interview, I think one question I would like to ask, because when you are active in boxing at that time, we kept on saying Esther is scared to fight away from Zambia. Were you scared to fight away from Zambia?
Not at all. Not at all. You know, these people in boxing, you need to protect your boxer, or you've got chances. If you can manage to host, to bring those guys who are outside to come here, again, it's for our own good, because many boxers, they will benefit out of their promotion. So it's not just because to go out, but we've got mass for us to promote here. The rest of the boxers also, they will benefit.
So looking at when you were into boxing and now, is there a difference? Is the sport now supported in terms of back then? Because when you started, it was a bit slow, but how have been things now since you and Kathleen Piri at least have made a name for yourselves, and you are both Piris? Is there a coincidence in that?
We just share the same coming from Sebakali.
So how is it challenging for you in terms of the academy that you have? Any challenges that you face?
Really, I think number one, as I said, that we don't have a place where we can train. I'm fighting to have my own place, maybe where people will identify that there's Esther's gym, then the youth, they will come there. Again, it's equipment. Automatically, you can't work without equipment. Also, we need just a support from corporate, I think, because you can't do it on your own. Dealing with, you know, youth. It's not just because of my pocket. I need to put the effort.
Oh, yeah.
And to win the sponsors, I need to show them what I'm doing is serious. And also there's challenge because there's people who doesn't understand what you are doing. So there's all those wrangles here and there. Maybe you find someone as a understand to say, oh, what we're doing is this. Some they'll see maybe you want to make money, but my heart is just to change someone's life. But automatically, we don't just work for money. At the end of the day, we need to put food on the table. So first thing is just to prove that what you're doing, it's serious.
So in terms of once some sponsorship comes on board, are we going to see a lot of young talent rising and represent Zambia in terms of the Olympic Games?
Automatically, because what we are doing, having my academy in different places, yeah, they are coming from there to go to, like these guys who are in Tokyo. Those are boys I've left in the gym. Okay, so already I've got a good seed behind me.
Exactly.
So I want to see more and more.
Anyway, so your final remarks to the viewers who are watching you.
I think I can say to the corporate, we need support. We can't do it on our own. We are dealing with youth, and you can't do it without money. What we are looking for is equipment. I think to my government, my new government, what I want, I'm fighting for a place. If you give me the place, I'll be the more happiest Esther that everyone wants. Come say, Esther, I don't want my name to die just like that without where they'll see my structure and, you know, and that's my vision. Yeah.
So now the final question before you leave the seat. Are we ever going to see the Esther back in the ring, or it's done? You've hung your gloves.
I don't want to say anything, but I will remain quiet. If you want to say bye, you're going to have a press and say bye. But there's two, three things I want to do before I say bye. I won't disclose.
Okay, you've heard it. That's Esther, who was our special guest for today, and she's still there. She still has 3 things that she has to do before she says it: a quit and bye. But as for now, we look forward to go there and film her academy and see the talent that's there in Mtendere and across the country as well, because she wants to make it very huge and broad. So continue working together with Esther to see we can groom other talents that are there that are hidden. For now, we'll take a very short break and we'll be right back on the other side.
Are you a small to medium enterprise looking to advertise your products and services within your community and across Zambia? In these economic times, we're here to help you grow your business. Advertise with us on Camelot Market. Camelot Market is offering lower rates for prime time advertising between 06 to 18 hours every day to give your business an edge under the new normal and beyond. For more details, contact us on the following numbers: 097 975 3010 or 096 296 5883, as well as 096 244 726. You can also reach us via email on info@CamelotTVAfrica.com. Camelot TV, not just another channel. The Camelot October Conference is fast approaching. To participate in the forthcoming conference, you're required to book your seat by paying 750 kwacha per person per day. Date 1st and 2nd October 2021. Venue, the Healing Word Ministries International in Ibex Hill. Guest speakers include Professor Reda, Professor Munkumba, Mr. Nkuruma Kalaluka, Dr. Musonda, Dr. Sitima, Anthony from USA, Dr. Mwale, Honorable Bob Sichinga, Elias Bondela, and your hosts, Pastors Victoria and Moses Chiluba.
You can also participate via Zoom at 300 kwacha per day.
Make your payments through mobile money for MTN 096 296 5883, for Airtel 097 975 3010. Our banking details are 913 000 182 5325, Stanbic Bank, Kablonga branch.
For those living abroad, make payments via Wild Remit. The deadline for payments will be 28 September 2021. Any late payment made after 28 September will attract a penalty fee of 200 kwacha per person.
That was Esther Puri just giving us a glint hint in terms of what she's been up to, because a lot of people have been asking questions. But hope you've heard now that she's still around. She's working on something. She's got an academy that she's building, and hopefully we'll see other boxers coming out of her ranks. Augustine, when you look at the transfer window so far, and we heard to say they've extended the transfer market, and let's look at the losers and winners in terms of all these transfer market and windows. We saw Ghana having a good deal, but we've seen Lusaka Dynamos again tending to lose out in terms of players leaving. I don't know if it's due to finances, but anyway, those are rumors that are there. What's your take on these transfers?
I think if you look at this transfer market and the way it has panned out, I think there have been some interesting signings like Zesco United signing Dixon Chapa on loan. I think that's very, very huge going into the season. I think Dixon Chapa brings something different to a Zesco United side. I think Zesco United were very, very clever in the way they did their business. They never went shopping like Zanaco. They just highlighted the positions they needed to strengthen, and they did that. They brought in a centre half from Sudan, someone who is a captain for the national team. That speaks volumes. He's very, very well experienced for this stage. If you look at the signing of Edward Lungu as a wide player, I think it gives them a different dimension. It gives them a lot of creativity. Zesco United and the strength and depth, sorry, the strength and depth of the squad, you can see that Zesco United have it all. And if you look at Zanaco, they brought in a lot of players, but you do realize that they went for quantity rather than quality, because if you look at the best signings that Zanaco have brought into the football club, I personally feel it's Salurani Piri, holding midfielder. He brings something different to Zanaco. Eric Ousu, he brings a different kind of play to Sensation Zanaco, because the winger is direct, he likes running at people, he eliminates oppositions. Akim Mumba likewise scored on his debut against Yanga. So you do realize Zanaco made at least 2-3 big signings. I think one area they strengthened, which they really needed to strengthen, was the defensive at the heart of defense, and they brought in Isaac Shamjopa, a huge signing. I think Shamjopa, if you look at him at Butte, he's a player with a lot of potential. He has been in and around the national team. I think what he needs to do, Isaac Shamjopa, is to improve his defensive side of the game. He's very, very decent on the ball. He's the kind of player who you would build up from defense with, but his defensive side of the game, he needs to improve on that, Isaac Shamjopa. I think Lamek Siame is another interesting signing by Zanaco. They struggled in that goalkeeping department. If you look at Prison Leopards, they also went into the market. They went shopping. They brought you Wimo Hatembo, very, very clever midfielder. He's called Deco. They've got Conrad Luchanga. It is believed he has moved to Prison Leopards, yeah. And Langson Kapumbu, the young brother to Kelvin and Faxon Kapumbu, he has moved to Prison Leopards. They went into the market, Prison Leopards. I think the signings they made, I think it will help them to stay away from that relegation zone, not to be constantly being in that relegation zone. I think if you look at Chambeshi, they haven't been impressive in the transfer market. I expected them to do more. They look destined for drop. I think they will just come and have played 34 games and go back to the National League, because they didn't do the right business, in my own view. If you look at teams like Power Dynamos, another disappointing transfer window for the Yellow family, if I have to be honest. I think one big signing Power Dynamos made, I think, was signing Paul Banda last week on a free agent. He brings on, because Chikondwani Chiwoni has crossed the road to Nkana Football Club, he goes and fills that space where Kondwani Chiwoni had left. But the big hole was left by Benson Sakala. And if you look at this Power Dynamo side, they did not address that. Their centre have issues. They have got problems in that centre back. I think if you look at Rafael Makubuli, I think he's not a very, very good defender, if I have to be honest. He's average. And Power Dynamos would have loved to bring on someone who is going to be a leader in that team. They lack leaders at the minute, Power Dynamos. If you look at that squad, Power Dynamos, they lack leaders, and they do not look like they will offer much this season. I felt they could have done something in the striking department. They lack goals, Power Dynamos. They do not have a striker who can get them goals week in, week out. You see, last season the top scorer was a midfielder, which is a disappointment. If you look at Power Dynamo's style of play and the football club, the huge football club Power Dynamos, and Masao Sotembo, he's been given this job. It's very, very huge, but he was not backed again in the transfer market. You will go back to Perry Mutapa when he was the coach. They never backed Perry Mutapa in the transfer market, Power Dynamos. I think they didn't do enough, I think, to me, in the transfer market. Lusaka Dynamos all over the place, like always, in terms of their transfers, the ins and outs. I think, to me, Lusaka Dynamos really look like they'll struggle this season. They have appointed Chris Kaunda as their head coach now. He will take over from Wetson Nyirenda. If you look at Forest Rangers, they haven't done much in the transfer market. They have lost a centre back who has gone to Azam. They have appointed TC as head coach, another decision which leaves an awful lot to be desired. I think what has TC done in the game for him to warrant that head coach position, but we'll see what he will bring to Forest Rangers. But TC, I think Forest Rangers, they look like they will be mid-table. Punkana, they didn't do much in the transfer market, if you have to be honest. Kondwani Chiwoni and a couple of other players who went in. Bini Mutale is being rumored to have joined Forest Rangers. I tend to wonder how many clubs does Bini Mutale change with Camelot Luchanga. I don't know if they sign 3 months contract or something else. I think it's something to look out for coming into the season. What will Bini Mutale offer to Forest Rangers if at all he has signed for Forest Rangers? Kansashi Dynamos did some decent business. Bruce Msakanya is rumored to be closing in on a move to Kansashi Dynamos. They've already signed Adam Zikiri. They look very, very good, Kansashi Dynamos, and they will try and stay up this season, because the last time they were in the Premier League, they got relegated prematurely because the league was cut short. Maybe now when they have got the entire 34 games, they will see a different Kansashi Dynamos because they play decent football. I'm excited to see what Kafue Celtic will bring to the league. And if you look at the continental representatives, Red Arrows, they went into the transfer market. They never did a lot of signings. They brought in Kepson Kamanga, left back, Charles Kalumbia in goal. They brought in Edward Tembo in central midfield, and Fred Sutra Shimenga, which was probably the biggest signing of the transfer window by Red Arrows. Kawe Warriors, they never did much in the transfer market. They were very, they looked at their squad, their finances, I think, and just address areas where they needed to strengthen a bit. They never did a lot in this transfer market, and we just hope to see good football. I think going into the coming season, players have moved. Now we need to see impact from these signings. I think one of the most impressive signings I've seen in this window, I think, is Dixon Chapa.
When we look at, you spoke of Camelot Luchanga, and Camelot Luchanga was once a household name. For me, he had a very bright start to his career, even compared to Pat Sondak. But where did he go wrong? Is it the issue of changing club, going club to club?
I think that can be a contributing factor, if you have to be honest, in terms of Camelot Luchanga. He was a boy who came to the scene with a lot of potential, with a lot of promise, Luchanga. When he burst onto the scene, I think his first season at Lusaka Dynamos, he scored an amazing goal against Red Arrows, where he dribbled past Bronson Chama. It was a highlight of the season. He was playing in a very youthful Lusaka Dynamos, and Camelot Luchanga, you would see, I think, if we have to be honest, his ability and attributes were far much better than Patson Daka. Camelot Luchanga was quick, he was skillful. I think Patson Daka was just a better finisher than Luchanga. Luchanga was one of those players who had a lot of potential, and we thought was going to take the next step in his career and see big things. I think he's moved to Israel. I think that was one of the moves which started destroying Camelot Luchanga's career, and when he came back to Zambia, injuries didn't do him any good. I think he hasn't settled at one club for a very long time to try and establish himself and try and improve and get better. But we hope now he's going to Prison Leopards. He will be their talisman, because he has to try and show, because he's one of the few international players who have played international football in that setup. Yeah, so he has to try and find his feet again. He's not very old, Luchanga. He can still get back to his base and do wonderful things in his career.
We saw, when it comes to Europe, Augustine, we saw the window coming to an end and some interesting deals being done on the final actual day. Which move was the best for you?
I think, to me, if you look at the transfer window, I think I'll pick on England. The best transfer signing on the deadline day, I think, if we have to be honest, was Saul Niguez going to Chelsea. I think that was big. That was huge, because Chelsea were already one of the favourites going into this Premier League season after they signed Romelu Lukaku, with the way they played last season under Thomas Tuchel. If you look at Saul Niguez, I think he's the kind of player Chelsea needed at this particular minute, because they've got Kovacic in that midfield, they've got N'Golo Conte, they've got Jorginho. Those are proven winners, and you bring on another Saul Niguez, who's a proven winner. Saul is a workaholic. He'll work hard for Chelsea, because what do you expect from a guy who comes from Ocholo's team, Diego Simeone? He brings in a different kind of game to Chelsea. I think he's very aggressive. He's always playing on the front foot. He's good on the ball. He dictates play. He pings good long passes. He'll get into the Chelsea squad and he'll only improve it. Chelsea look very, very dangerous, if we have to be honest, going into this this season. If you look at Manchester City, they just brought in Jack Grealish, 100 million, big signing for them, Jack Grealish, but they didn't sort out their strikers issue again. So probably City will see them play with a first nine many games this season. Manchester United, the signing of Ronaldo changed the whole conversation, because United, okay, they had done decent business with coming in of Rafael Varane, Jadon Sancho. Now Cristiano Ronaldo, he brings a different feeling into the dressing room. He's a winner, he's a proven winner. He's going to be the leader in that team. He will try and take United to the next level, because Ronaldo almost every season is winning a trophy. And if you look at Solskjaer, he hasn't won anything at United, and he's been backed in the transfer market. He will try and do something. Liverpool fans look worried because they feel they didn't do much. But if you look at the Liverpool team, I think they are decent. I think there are no areas where they could have strengthened. I think, if you have to be honest, the attacking part, they have got Bobby Firmino, they have got Sadio Mane, they have got Mohamed Salah, and they have got Diego Jota. If you put these players, at least the minimum goals they'll score is 10 goals. And we've got Virgil van Dijk back at the back, and they said Konate from RB Leipzig. I think they did very, very decent business. We need to make mention of Leicester City. They've done fantastic business in the transfer market, bringing on Patson Daga, who has scored more than 20 goals in the season. They've brought in Adimolo Lukman on loan from RB Leipzig. They signed Ryan Bateland and Suleiman. I think Leicester have done some fantastic business.
In your closing remarks, Augustine, you can maybe make from a scale of 5 to 10 or 1 to 10, who did the best business in terms of clubs in Europe signing?
I think if I would rate from 1 to 10, I think I would rate PSG 9 out of 10.
The beneficiaries.
I think, to me, you cannot have so many quality players on free transfers. Jorginho Wijnaldum, Lionel Messi, Gianluigi Donnarumma, and Sergio Ramos. That was very, very huge statement by Paris Saint-Germain, and they have to do it in style, winning the Ligue 1 and winning the Champions League.
Your closing remarks.
It's been an interesting show. We'd like to thank all the viewers out there for tuning in. We always appreciate your support, and we hope to see you again same time next week. Thank you for your time, and a big thanks to the entire production team who made this possible. We hope we will do this again next week.
Like Augustine said, we just want to thank our viewers and our fans for all the support that they are giving us, not forgetting Pastor Moses and Victoria Chiluba for giving us this platform to give you nothing but the best in terms of sports. On behalf of the whole entire production team, that's Eliza Chifita, not forgetting one Isaac who is doing it upstairs, and our guest who came in today, that's Esther Perry. We say thank you, and I've been your host Amos, aka Amore. I say bye-bye and I'm out.